I'm Christopher. I'm going to talk about the workplace. I'm sorry that's not the fun topic you were hoping for. For deaf and hard of hearing, that's just never a fun topic. Too many of us are on or underemployed, stuck on SSDI. Even when we do find work, we're hit with the intricacies of office communication that seem designed to leave us out. This is a failure of traditional accessibility that focuses on communication, task communications, and not social communications. In the workplace, a worker might have interpretation to verbal communications around meetings and training, but she is not going to have that same level of access to the break room or the hallway. The social conversation, however, is essential. It's in these that we find the seeds of innovation. When Steve Jobs took over Pixar, he moved the bathrooms to a central location so that Pixar employees came into contact with each other and made small talk. Famously, innovative environments like the World War II code-breaking labs at Bentley Park in England, or the groundbreaking design studio of Charles and Ray Eames, brought together people of different backgrounds to capitalize on daily interaction. For the individual, social conversation is an important factor in job advancement by helping workers into secondary information about office dynamics. Is the boss angry? Is there a new position opening up? Is the plant facing a slowdown? These kinds of conversations that happen outside of primary task conversations, and they are essential to mastering the workplace. Workers need this kind of information to be in control of their careers. That chatter also has a social purpose that decreases isolation and increases job satisfaction. Have you ever had a job that the work is just okay, but you love your coworkers? That's coming from social communications. So how do we cross that barrier? These barriers that keep deaf and hard of hearing from fully participating in their work lives. I think we need to rethink how we reframe accessibility. Traditional accessibility is often passive. It depends on sponsorship and top-down leadership. It pits deaf and hard of hearing against their coworkers, their bosses, and their translators. Puts them together in a competitive relationship for scarce resources. What if we found a way to talk about accessibility that is self-directed, empowering, and interdependent? I'd like to read a quote from the conversation that Judith Butler had with Sonny Taylor, the disability rights advocate. I think it's a great way to think of accessibility that is interconnected. Butler comments that nobody goes for a walk without something that supports that walk, something outside of ourselves. That something outside of ourselves can be anything from the ADA or an ally that we've developed as a person in an office that connects us to social conversation. The barriers to communication are continually developed, are continually challenged by different cultures, different languages, different genders, and different abilities, trying to find new ways to collaborate. Accessibility that depends entirely on policy or top-down planning does nothing to support bridging those barriers in collaboration. A collaboration that is diverse, that is empowering for the individual, and reaches out to fellow collaborators and doesn't isolate. Taking the stand that we are responsible for building bridges and finding allies and new ways to fundamentally attack barriers to participation is my vision for a different kind of empowered, self-directed access. I know that just some might think I'm trying to put all of accessibility on those of us that are differently able. That is far from my intent. I believe that we need strong policies like ADA and workplace protections, but I also believe that we need to support workers of all abilities in building bridges, finding allies, and taking ownership of participation. Perhaps that's an overly activist take on our future, but if we aren't our own best advocates, who will be?